Hello, this is Ariana Antonio for MDFII 1404, and this is my project to review. So this week we went ahead and continued using the Twitter API, and instead of using the tweets from a particular user, this time we loaded up their friends and then populated them into a collection cell instead of a table view cell. So I will really quickly go over my code. It's relatively straightforward, even though it did end up being pretty complicated for me this week. So when we go ahead and first load up, let's see, you can see the first thing we do is check for an internet connection, which down here, if you go for the internet connection, the way that this works is it uses this reachability class that is part of, or it uses the framework down here, the system configuration framework, to check for the reachability of a certain, well, there are different ways, but the way that I'm using it, it searches for a website, so it was recommended to go to a reliable website, so that if it can't reach it, then that probably means that there's no internet connection. So it checks if it can reach Google, and if it cannot, there's no internet connection, and it goes ahead and pops up an alert that tells you that you need to be connected to the internet in order to access Twitter. And I'll demonstrate that in a little bit. And then we go through the usual Twitter API calls, asking for permission to connect to Twitter, and then going into the store, creating an array of the user information. So this is accessing the friends list of the user, taking the data, loading it into a dictionary for now, and then grabbing the users from that dictionary and creating an array of the users. So then we go ahead and loop through that array so that we can go through each user, and we have our follower info, which is our custom class that I created for each friend, for each user. And it grabs their screen name and puts that into one of the properties of the class, and then it grabs the profile image URL, builds that up, and then adds that for the profile picture for the property of that class. And then it adds each object as it loops through the array to a new array. So this is going to be the array that we're kind of pulling everything from. And then that all happened if access to Twitter was granted up here. If it was not granted, then there's another alert that pops up that says that access to Twitter was not granted. So we go through the internet connection, and then we go down to creating our collection view, and it's creating the amount in the array, which given the Twitter API call will be a max of 20. Then we're taking that and we're using, pulling out that information again from the custom object that we created and using that to populate our custom collection view cell. And then here comes our segue, which is, again, taking that information from the array. It's creating new objects from it and then passing that information over to our detail view controller. I did try using this method down here, but I couldn't quite figure out how to get the segue to go over correctly. It was grabbing the data and setting it, but it wasn't quite passing it over properly, so I found the prepare for segue worked better. And then all the rest of these are really simple. This is doing what you usually expect, taking the data that was passed over from the main view and setting it to all the information on the detail view. This is just my custom Twitter cell for each of the collections, so it's just got the username and image. This is my custom object, my class for each follower, which also just has their name and their picture. And then these are the files to access the reachability information to check for the internet connection. So pretty simple, although I did have some problems with the logic back and forth. I mean, if I uncomment out all these NS logs, it's a ton of information. You can see I have a lot of breakpoints in here where I was testing various things. Mostly I had some issues passing data back and forth, and then as well as it took me a little bit to figure out how to properly create this. The first time I did it, it wasn't adding the objects properly. It was only adding one at a time, and then later it was adding or trying to pass all the information down over in the prepare to segue, so it was passing 20 pieces into one label and all this sort of stuff, but after a while I kind of worked it out. So I will go ahead and show you my app now. So this is actually on my phone so that I can go ahead and demonstrate what happens if there's no internet connection. So here's it when it loads up. Usually it takes touching it to really kind of complete loading Twitter. So here's my Twitter user information, or my friends. Here's the 20 cells, each with an image, a profile image, and the profile username. So we can go ahead and click on Punky Steph, and it's got her image as well as her screen name. Close that out. Now we can go to the Ellen show and so forth. So it's all pretty straightforward. And then I will go ahead and stop running this really quick just to demonstrate what happens if I put my phone into airplane mode. Okay, so I just discovered that the Reflector app does not work when you put your phone into airplane mode, which, you know, makes sense given the fact that it's using your Bluetooth or something like that to connect. So if it's in airplane mode, it can't quite use that. So, but I promise you that when I turn my phone into airplane mode and try to load up my app, my alert pops up that says I have no internet connection. So you're just gonna have to take my word on that, but it works. And it did also, you can see at least it hit my NS log that I have in there, down an internet connection, no internet connection. So it did at least log that I had no internet connection, even if I can't show it to you. So that's basically my app and my code. In terms of things I could have done better, I'm not sure, you know, there are some little things in terms of I would have liked, you know, to maybe figure out how to make the pictures a little less grainy. It did, you know, again, take me a while to figure out how to pass data over and, you know, create this little for loop and all to kind of get this stuff moving around. So it's possible that there might have been a better way to do it that I'm not sure of. So I don't know if this could have just been easier or cleaner or better done for storing the information. But, you know, all in all, it was still a pretty straightforward week, so it just took a little bit of head work to kind of get around some of the stuff. But it's still good learning more of the Twitter stuff as well as using the collection view. So yeah, that's all I have for you this week. Thanks so much. Bye.